What's up, guys? The Beast NJ here, and welcome to my Wonder Woman review. I just got home a little bit ago, so it's pretty fresh in my mind still. First of all, welcome to the YouTube channel. If you're new, if you're coming back, or whatever, you're surprised to see this video, there'll be formal announcements down the line of what I'm doing and everything that's going on. But obviously, I'm revamping my YouTube channel, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to review the movie for anybody and everybody who might expect me to. And I love doing the movie reviews, so surprise, that's going to keep happening. But anyway, if you're not familiar with the way I review things, normally I start off with a few minutes to half of this being spoiler free, and then I go into full spoilers. So it'll be the same way as always. So let's just get right into it. As you can see, smile on my face coming home from a DC movie, which is always a good sign. They needed this, man. They needed this bad, and I'm happy to say that it really worked out. Not only did they need it because DC has obviously had this sketchy track record of films, they needed it for Marvel as well, because it was the first real attempt at the proving ground for a female-driven superhero film. And Wonder Woman, of all the characters to do it with, I mean, if you get that wrong, you're in some deep shit. But they didn't. Thank God they didn't. It was really, really good, you guys. Honestly, it was really good. I was a little skeptical at these perfect reviews. I think it's, I don't know what I'll look it up as I speak. I don't know what it's at right now, but on Rotten Tomatoes, I know it was doing like insane numbers. It's at a 93% right now. Actually, I'm at a 55%. Dean, 55%. The fuck is that all about? But it's at a 93% right now. That's actually a little where I would be. It was like 98, bobbing between 100 when it was, in early screenings. But yeah, I would probably be about this high. It was really good. It was. There's a small amount of problems that I had with it, but the action delivered, and they got into it way faster than I thought they would. First of all, there's action from the get-go, but the full Wonder Woman experience, I guess, to speak, the suit and seeing her really use her full power, that takes surprisingly quick to get into, and it lasts, and it doesn't drag. It's done extremely well. The choreography is really cool. The slow-mo effect is not bad at all, and they seem to allude that it was going to be used quite a bit in the trailer, but it's used well, I think. And I mean, Gal absolutely crushed it. She just crushed it as Diana. She is, man, she just was so good. She is mesmerizing. She nails she just brings so much of that character that you read in the comic books, and I think the animated movies, like what was the New 52 Justice League movie, Justice League War, it really nails that interpretation of the character, and so much more that's more from the comics. That her passion and her eagerness to not just prove herself and use her gifts, but to do what's right and to help. And it's a true superhero film. She just wants to help, and sometimes you get lost from that fact in a lot of these movies. Things like Civil War and some of the different conflicts in the Avengers movie, Guardians of the Galaxy even, which is great. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is fantastic. One of my favorite movies of the summer so far. But you gotta lose sight of, with everything going on, that these characters are meant to help people who can't help themselves. This movie just absolutely not only drove that home, but just stuck the landing perfectly. Something that really surprised me was Chris Pine as Steve Trevor. I thought his arc was really, really well done. And a lot of times when they do these like fish out of water stories, like Thor, I'm sorry to compare it to Marvel, but what else can you do? But so like Thor comes to Earth, and there's that superhero story. There's Thor's journey, and then there is his what do you call it? I don't know. His like posse, his like comrades or whatever. Their story. So it's really easy for that that human story to just be like, it's filler. We want to see more of the hero. But Chris Pine, being that this is a World War I setting, and that is a thing that happened, and it was the most brutal war of all time, seeing his passion and desire to do good and help, and he wants to do his job and save lives, was really, really well done. It was a strong part of the story. Everything together, the writing in this and the script, was really, really well done. I don't know what else I can say much without going into spoilers, so I guess before I do go into spoilers, highly recommend this movie. If you needed a score on it, maybe like an 8.5, maybe 8.8ish. I'm up there. I'm almost at a 9. On a if I saw it again, I could tell you for sure, but I'm up there. It's a great movie. It really is. And it's a home run for DC, and one that they desperately needed. So I'm really happy to come back here and say that. One thing before we do go into spoilers, I thought Danny Houston, he plays a character called Ludendorff, I believe, according to this IMDb page. I kind of, that sort of speaks to his character. It's, he plays like the big bad guy, but it's what you would expect. That's the most vanilla part of this. However, there's something else at play that I can't obviously tell you about because that will go into my spoilers section. But I get why he's vanilla. It's just his performance kind of left me wanting. I never really find that particular actor to be that good, if I'm being perfectly honest. So take that for what it will. But the other characters that were a part of like Steve Trevor's crew all did a great job. That whole crew really sold me on the camaraderie and the fact that they just wanted to help, and the fact that they wanted to help Diana. So great movie. Gal crushed it. This is an excellent start to getting things back on track for Justice League and the DC cinematic universe here, or they're calling it something else, I forget. But yeah, great movie. Highly recommend it. Go see it. And if you're leaving because you don't want to be spoiled, please subscribe to the channel. Appreciate it. And now for all of you that are sticking around and want to be spoiled, here we go. Gloves off. I thought I knew, obviously, there was telltale things, but we kind of heard about the casting of, what is his name here? I gotta find it. I'm sorry, guys. I can't find it. I don't know. But the actor that played Ares, also from Harry Potter, there was telltale signs alluding to him being that. There were rumors that was happening, but there's just a little something. I found that he was a little too nice, but I think without that rumor in the back of my head wouldn't have gotten me to that point. But he was great, I thought, as Ares, when he really lets loose and tells Diana about her past, daughter of Zeus, and you are the God Killer and all that. And when things take off right there, and she just flips and really owns her full power, I was like, this is really something like kind of special. It was like taking those, you expect the big bombastic superhero battle at the end of these things, but this was just different. It was very personal because it was like this long lineage of family coming to a head that she had only just discovered, but still inside, like she could feel that, and she brought that to the screen. For sure. I know it's a little backwards for me to have started at the end, but that was really on my mind because like I said, I just came out of the theater. But I thought that was really great. I really liked that whole back and forth, the whole dialogue, even when they weren't fighting. I just loved the way they told Ares' tale in this, and seemingly fitting his reveal into somewhat a short amount of time at the end was really good. I also love that the way the Steve Trevor arc ends. I mean, he goes through this whole movie saying how he doesn't have a family and he doesn't know what it's like, and he makes all these little things that allude to him being kind of like, I don't have a place. I fight in this war partially because I want to do good and help everything, and partially because I don't belong anywhere, and this is the only thing that I really belong to. So for him to have sacrificed himself at the end, I think was a perfect way to close that loop. And I also think it made a lot of sense that it did have to be him. You think to yourself, and they addressed that very wisely because they knew people were going to come out of there and be like, why wouldn't Wonder Woman just blow up the bombs and everything will be fine? But you see that she can be hurt. It does happen. She is a god, as we find out, but which I don't know if I knew. I should have probably disclosed this. I'm more of a Marvel guy normally. I love DC, but I only am so attuned to certain DC characters. Wonder Woman, totally honest, I'm not that familiar with her origins or lineage. So a lot of this in this movie was me finding out about this wonderful character for the first time. And honestly, it's inspired me to go and start reading and stuff, which is what they probably would hope for from movies like this. But she could be hurt in this iteration by bullets and knives and things like that. So it made a lot of sense. I like that they go back and tell you what he was saying when the bombs were going off and her ears were ringing. And, he said, I could save today. You could save the world. And I was like, that's the kind of guy he is. And he sells that really well. Chris Pine did a great job at really selling that is who he is. So I thought that was a really great way to close his arc. And that whole third act, I just thought was really well put together. And that is always where these DC movies really fall apart, regardless of whether or not the first one or two acts were okay even, or the whole thing was bad, or they were good. The third act is always where these DC movies seem to really just fall to shambles, and have this one be so strong. I was like, this is it, man. Like, we're here. They have arrived. They've done it, and I think that's great. Also, shout out to their little opening studio animation. I thought that was cool. They're fighting back at Marvel, and I like that a lot. I think they need to fine tune that a little bit. It doesn't really matter. It's a small thing, but I like that it was there. So to jump all the way back to the very beginning to that little girl who plays young Diana, the casting is just fantastic because that little girl, Lily Aspel's her name, and Gal Gadot are kindred souls. Like, you see that the attitude and spunk and fight and ambition that little girl brought in the beginning, and she wants to train, and she doesn't even know that she's what she really is, and even just the looks in her face, that I guess really I don't know if the credit goes to casting or Gal's acting or what, but that sticks through the whole film, and you always see that little girl in Diana throughout the whole film. And she nails those personality traits, like, through the whole thing. She's always got that passion and that ambition that I can do this. I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? And I love all of the positive feminist messages in this movie were so tastefully done. And it's important that they were there because this is, going to be a role model for a lot of young girls and a lot of older girls who, have loved this character and it already is a role model. So it's important that they represent that. That is what that character is. And that's what that character will always be. And I would hope that men could look at this character and feel the same way as well now. I'm going to have to find a Wonder Woman t-shirt for myself because she is absolutely inspiring and just a symbol of strength and hope. And I think that the messages that this movie conveys in today's climate, with how she says, like, I understand now, love is what will heal the world. And it's like, sing it, sister. Am I, like, it's just so powerful and relevant. But yeah, all that stuff aside, I was really just impressed with the way that she was able to just carry that young version of herself throughout this whole movie. In the Amazon in the beginning was so cool. They did a great job with Themyscira and Hippolyta. All of the Amazon women's, they were really symbols of just inspiration. They were everything you would expect them to have been from the comic books. They were beautiful. They were strong. They were fearless. And the choreography of that whole fighting scene when the beach is being stormed there was just awesome. So just a couple of negatives before I close this off. I don't want to end on a negative note, but like I had mentioned, I thought Ludendorff was, whatever. I thought Dr. Poison was pretty cool. She was different, but then she didn't really go anywhere, So again, the villains were sort of a weakness, which is not a problem exclusive to DC. That's a problem that Marvel has all the time. It's a problem that superhero films in general and action films have all the time. It's just, villains, you spend so much time building up your hero and backstory for where they come from and why they are what they are, and then it's hard to fit all that in and build the villain up as well. So those were a little bit weak, and like I said, you find out that they're weak sort of for a reason, because Ares is the overarching threat. He's being talked about this whole movie. You expect this guy to show up and be like, holy shit. And he does. They did a great job with his look and his armor. I thought that was great. I'm trying to find David Thewlis is his name. The character's name was Sir Patrick. But they did a great job at making him look really intimidating, coming from like this feeble old like British I don't know what he is, like general, or I'm not sure, but they did a great job at making him really intimidating as Ares in that armor, and all of his skills I immediately went to Injustice, when the first game, when he throws all the axes, and they actually did do something like that in this movie. The special effects were great. Didn't even need to mention that really, but I thought they did a phenomenal job with the special effects. But yeah, I just thought those filler villains, if they could have been a little bit more, just a little more convincing to make you almost forget that Ares is really the bad guy we're waiting to see, and maybe that would have sold me further that Ludendorff was Ares. But that was just a very small complaint I have with the movie, if we were to name some negative things. I thought some of the kind of glossing over, like, what the significance is of her armor. She just, like, saw it standing and just takes it. And, with these movies, like, the suit is always kind of, like, that's a big deal for these movies. And they didn't really, mention. I just would have liked to know, like, what the relevance of it was. They give you relevance to her crown, and they tell you about the sword, and they don't, the lasso, they tell you the history of it, but whose was it? They do tell you whose it wasn't. That's my mistake. Yeah, but that was just another really small thing. But other than that, I really got nothing. I thought it was really well done, and I thought it was well explained. The story was formed really well. It was a great screenplay. The script was great. I enjoyed all of the story moments, and the action settled down. And then when it's time to get in the action, when she walks across no man's land and just really displays her power, which was a true highlight for me. How often do we go into these movies and it takes a couple of movies to see these characters? Captain America would be the example, which, if you were to compare this to the first Captain America, no contest. This movie is way better. I know it was compared a lot to the first Avenger. Wonder Woman is way beyond that, in my opinion. And it's really cool to see how it took Captain America a couple of movies to get to his peak, like, physical form, and really make use of all of his skills and powers. But in this, I mean, she storms across no man's land, and then we're seeing the lasso come out. She's using her not gauntlets, bracers, I guess they would be called. She's using her sword, she's using her shield, she's using her strength, she's using her speed and her power. We see her throw that tank, and she just charges herself into this building, takes out the whole top of a building. It's like, damn, like you get Wonder Woman from the get-go, and she uses all of her skills and weapons throughout this whole movie. She uses everything. And it's not just like, oh, we got to make sure we highlight that real quick. She makes use of her whole arsenal in such a great way, and I was really impressed by that, honestly, because it's there's a lot going on. It's it's easy to just fall back on the lasso, or just fall back on her speed or her physical form, but they really weaved in every element that makes this character special, and it showed. I really thought it did. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to mention before we close off. The final fight I thought was really cool, and she flew. So there's a lot of people out there on Level Up when I was making videos about Wonder Woman on there, and I'm saying, pretty sure she fucking flies, and they're like, she just jumps really high. And she jumps high a lot in this. But more than one scene, she was clearly just hovering in air, and at the end, she was just straight up flying. which I thought was great. It's cool to see this character like really take form and get ready for the Justice League. And I like that the opening closing was the end cap with Bruce sending her that photo back. To, you know, they're working this into the DC extended universe, I think it is, really well. So it's a great start, and it was a really well done origin story. And we haven't had a great origin story, in my opinion, probably since Iron Man 1. And this was it, man. This was a really unique and great origin story, and she just knocked it out of the park. They did a great job with this. A lot of credit to Patty Jenkins. And Zack Snyder, as well as Alan Heinberg, who helped write the screenplay. Just wonderful. It was a wonderful movie. Shout out to Chris Pine once more, and of course, Gal Gadot for just stealing my heart again. She was everything in Batman vs Superman for me, the saving grace of that movie, and she shows up again and just screams passion and, you know, inspiration, and she was just wonderful. And she's pretty easy on the eyes, if I might say so myself. I could have watched her be Wonder Woman for like 4 more hours, no problem. Not just because she's beautiful, but she is that character. It's great. Just well done. Home run, in my opinion, for DC and for Warner Brothers. I highly recommend you all go see Wonder Woman as soon as you can. That's going to be it for the Wonder Woman review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate it. It's going to be overhauled completely in the near future, and I have a lot of other announcements that I'm working on as well. So thank you guys so much. Like this video if you did like it. I would really appreciate it, and it helps me out a whole bunch. And until next time, guys, I am the Beast NJ, and I'll see you soon.